All right, so for the first one, we've got 5% of 80. So we're going to take 80, multiply it by 5% as a decimal. That's 0.05. And when we multiply that in our calculator, we get 4. Number 2, estimate 12% of 58. 12%, we estimate that to 10. 58, close to 60, we estimate it to that. So now we have 10% of 60. So we're going to take 60, we're going to multiply it by 10% as a decimal. Remember, always 2 spaces to the left, 0.10. When we multiply that in our calculator, we end up with 6. Number 3, what is 10% of 40? Now, this one you could do like this, but you can also do is over of if you'd like to. So the first thing we look for is the percent. We have 10%, so we're going to write 10 over 100. Then we look for the is and the of. The of is 40, of goes on bottom, is goes on top. We don't know the is, so it's x. Now we're going to do our cross products. 100 times x equals 40 times 10. 40 times 10 equals 400. Divide both sides by the coefficient, the number touching x. When we do that, we have x, and on this side, 400 divided by 100 equals 4. Number 4, 40% of what number is 26? Again, the first thing we look for is the percent. In this case, we have 40%, so we're going to write 40 over 100. We then look for the of and the is. The is 26, is goes on top. The of we don't know, so we have x on bottom. Cross products. 40 times x equals 26 times 100. 26 times 100 is going to be 2600. Divide both sides by 40, because that's touching the x. We end up with x equals, and 2600 divided by 40 is going to be 65.
Please pardon the interruption. All high school teachers, please check your email. A very important email came out from this week.
Okay, so number 5. For these ones, first thing they mention for percent of change, first thing they mention is the original or the old. Second thing they mention is the now or the new. Remember that magical phrase that I taught you? Do you remember this?
Oh,
No! Times 100. So, now minus original over original times 100. 24 minus 30. We get negative 6. Now divide that by 30. Then multiply by 100. And we get negative 20. Now, boys and girls, this is a percent, so you have to have a percent sign. Since it's negative, it's a decrease. You can write DEC to abbreviate that if you want. This next one we do the same way. Original, now, or new. No, times 100. So we're going to write that as 18 minus 15 divided by 15 times 100. When we do this, 18 minus 15 divided by 15 times 100. This time we have positive 20. So it's 20%. Since it's positive, it's an increase. If it's positive, you have to have increase here. If it's negative, you have to have decrease. If you don't, it will be wrong. Also, you need the percent signs. It is a percent. On the back. For number 7, I told you to round this to the nearest whole number. It says Mike estimates his bill will be $120. His bill is $94. What is his percent error? So obviously this is a percent error problem. So remember, for percent error problems, the amount of error over the actual amount times 100. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out what the error is. So he estimated 120, it was actually 94. With this one, it's third grade style, so do the big number minus the little number. You shouldn't end up with a negative as long as you remember that. 120 minus 94, that's going to be 26. So now, to use this equation, we're going to do 26 divided by 94 times 100. And when you do that, 26 divided by 94 times 100, you end up with this big number right here, 27.65957. I told you to round this to the nearest whole number. So, you're going to look right here in the ones place. I know the decimal's hard to see. Then you look to the right. Is that number 5 or more?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we increase this by 1, we're going to say it's 28%. Now, for the next ones, find the total cost, round to the nearest cent. That's penny. So, $43 dinner, 15% tip, 6% tax. So, for this one, first thing we're going to do is we're going to say tip and tax. These are both positive things. For this class, I told you, the tip and the tax, you can actually combine them. 15 plus 6 equals 21. So what we're going to do is we're going to find for a $43 dinner, 21% for tax and tip. We're going to do this just as one problem. So the way we do this is 43 times, to make this into a decimal, move it over 2 spots to the left, Beyonce style, 0.21. That's right, good song. All right, when you multiply this in your calculator, 43 times 0.21, we end up with $9.03. And that's the tax and tip. We have to add that to the dinner amount to get the total cost. So when you add that, $43 plus $9.03, we end up with $52.03. Next one, $80 shirt, 20% discount, 7% tax. Discount gets subtracted, tax gets added. This one you have to do one step at a time. So, first thing, $80 shirt, you're going to multiply this by your percent discount to the left, 0.20. When we do this, we end up with $16. That's what our discount's worth, $16. So now our price with the discount is 80 minus 16, and that equals $64. That's the price with discount. That's also the price that we're going to pay tax on. So we're going to use that new price, $64. We're going to multiply it by the percent for sales tax. Remember, to the left. We fill a 0 in that hole, and it ends up being 0.07 for a decimal equivalent of the percent. When we multiply that, 64 times 0.07, end up with $4.48. So now, tax gets added, so 64 plus 448 ends up equaling 68.48. The next two say find simple interest. So, $640 at 3% for 2 years. Remember our formula, I equals PRT. So, the principal amount, it's what we start with, that's $640. The rate, 3%, remember, you need to turn this into a decimal equivalent by moving a decimal point over twice, fill in that hole with a 0, so we've got 0.03. And the time in terms of years is 2. 640 times 0.03 times 2. We end up with 38.4. To make this into a proper price, because remember, proper prices have 2 digits after the decimal point, you can always add a 0. That's what we have to do. If you do not add that 0 and you left it as 38.4, it would be marked wrong. This is a dollar amount, has to have 2 digits after the decimal point, if there's any change. This one right here, we do the same way. I equals PRT. The principal amount, $1,500. For the rate, remember, take the 4% to the left, so we have 0.04. This time, the time, we need it in terms of years. We have months. So, in 1 year, there's how many months? 12. So we're going to write 8 out of 12, 8/12ths of a year. That's what 8 months is. So take your months, write it over 12. The way we do this, 1,500 times 0.04 times, for the month, put in your month, 8, and then divided by 12, because fraction bar means division. We end up getting 40. If you did it the other way, starting from here, 8 divided by 12 times 0.04 times 1,500. Here, very, very similar, 39.99. The calculator makes a little bit of rounding, that's okay. Either answer I would accept, but if you do it from the front, it'll come out nice and even and perfect. 40. Last question. Mike had a $3,000 loan for 2 years and paid $450 in interest. What was the interest rate? So they're telling you that we don't know the rate, that's what we need to figure it out. So, the equation, I equals PRT. The principal, $3,000. The rate we don't know, so I'm going to leave that as R. The time was 2 years. The interest, they tell you, is $450. So now we're going to simplify. 3,000 times 2, well, 3 times 2 is 6. 3,000 times 2 is 6,000. So now we have 450 equals 6,000 times R. So now to solve this, one-step equation, the coefficient, divide by on both sides. You just divide by the number touching the letter, which is 6,000. That cancels, leaving R. On this side, we've got 450 divided by 6,000. Now we end up with 0.075. This is a decimal, because remember, for all these problems, we turn the percent into a decimal before we use them. We need to turn this back into a percent. So to turn this back into a percent, the opposite of to the left is? Good. Boom, boom. So this is going to be 7.5%. So, boys and girls, that's everything that is going to be on your test. Best of luck. Alright, kids, slight correction for this one right here. I wrote the answer as 64, but as you can see, when we figured it out, it was 65. My bad. Should be 65. Alright, thanks again. Good luck.